Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS your psychologist and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. In many of our previous episodes, we talked about the compatibility between ENTJ and other MBTI types. However, in my personal experience, compatibility does not play a significant role in deciding whether I want to pursue a particular person. So personally, I do not fancy P-type individuals. However, I have dated P-types and in fact, I have two INFP exes. So I am wondering if fellow ENTJs, you have the same type of mentality. When you look at a particular new date, then you say, okay, this must be a P-type individual. Nonetheless, I still want to try. Maybe this is the TE trait. You treat everybody or everything as a challenge and then you see whether there are ways to overcome this challenge. So perhaps, yeah, the ENTJ is a stubborn person. So sometimes when you are initially attracted to a particular person, it does not matter much whether this person is an ENFP, INTJ or whichever MBTI type it is. Because you think that, yes, let's see how it works. Let's try to be together some more and see whether it turns out fine. But there is one MBTI type I think has the lowest survival rate, at least for this ENTJ, and that is the ISFP. So in this episode, I am going to talk about how the ISFP ENTJ pairing does not work for me. Because I am a TE dom, so Fi is my inferior function. In fact, I try to avoid Fi wherever possible. So given that the ISFP is an Fi dom, then it makes things very difficult for us. Fi as a dominant function can be very repulsive because it can be really overbearing. So there are two types of Fi doms, the ISFP and the INFP. I find the INFP okay because when Fi is paired with NE, it becomes more of an idealism. So INFPs are cute in a way because they are dreamier. They do not act immediately because they like to procrastinate. So as an ENTJ, I find this pairing more acceptable because I do not like impulsive individuals. On the other hand, for ISFPs, their cognitive stacks is totally the opposite of the ENTJ's cognitive stacks. So I find ISFPs rather vain and showy. And in my many years of lecturing, I have definitely encountered ISFP students. So very interestingly, at first, many of these ISFPs actually type themselves as INTJ. So after having completed their paper and pencil test, many ISFPs report that they are INTJs. Well, this is definitely possible because the INTJs and the ISFPs cognitive stacks have the same cognitive functions. This means that when the ISFPs are doing the test, they are only focusing on the superego functions, which are the better functions. So ISFPs definitely have a trait to showcase their better sides and trying to downplay their weaker sides. So this is also why when an ISFP does the paper and pencil test, they may be typed as an INTJ instead, but cannot be. But of course this cannot be because the INTJ does not behave this way. So if the ISFP were a social media influencer, they will be screaming for people to look at them. Hey, I'm going to sing now. Please watch me at TikTok now. Something like that. And INTJ rarely will do that. Actually, in fact, I don't think INTJs will do this kind of a thing. So as I am observing these students, I know they cannot be INTJs. So I have a word to describe the ISFPs in this regard: disillusion. While it is not wrong to focus on your own strengths and ignore your weaknesses, the ISFPs appear to be doing that unconsciously. They really think that they are good. So another thing that comes to my mind when I think of ISFPs is that they are likely to be dishonest and they are very likely to fabricate their own truth. Thinking about which, I think that Fi individuals should not be in politics. At least in the Singapore context, I do not think that ISFP should be a politician at all. Why? Because they do not think of consequences. Given that Fi is the dominant function, TE becomes the inferior function. This means that without TE, they are likely to think only on the short term. They do not think of consequences. They are likely to get their party into trouble. Since we have talked about not thinking of long-term consequences, I think that this is a very important thing for the ENTJ, because if the ISFP gets paired with the ENTJ, the ISFP is very likely to get into trouble a lot. And when that happens, who cleans up the... Of course, it is going to be the ENTJ. So tiring. Personally, I already think that the ISFPs gave me a very superficial type of feeling, and in a partner, I really like to look for depth. So definitely, I would say that if I were attracted to an ISFP, the relationship that we are likely to have is going to be nothing else. So there were a few ISFP students in the past. They are really aggressive in their own ways. So there was a module that I teach that is actually quite difficult for most psychological students. So these ISFP students, they don't understand the lesson at all. They went to complain to management. So the management had to come down and do an observation. They also had to do some form of an investigation. So what did these two ISFP students do? They said that I wasn't even teaching. So of course, this is totally untrue. The ISFP is very capable of creating their own story to fit their own needs. But of course, to be fair, these ISFP students were only 18-year-old individuals. If they have grown up to become older, I hope that they will become more mature. I think this is not a way to handle adult matters in the world. In the long run, you are going to bang the wall. So in one of our previous episodes, I have identified 3 ISFPs and I talked about the ISFP and the ESFP. So the ISFPs that I've identified are Xiaxue, Amos E, and Rui-En. So personally, as a celebrity, I think I quite like Rui-En. So if I were to add into the list of the ISFP, I would say that Fiona Xie is likely to be an ISFP as well. So but look at how she has grown. When she was younger, I think that she was more impulsive and irresponsible. She has been known to do whatever that she likes because she was famous. Now, when you look at her after her return back to Singapore, she looks more muted and more mature. Not too sure whether it is an act, but I would think that she has grown. So to be fair, I have a lot of personal experiences with much younger ISFPs and I don't like them. So ISFPs below 30 cannot make it. For me, the ENTJ. In any way, when the ISFP seems to be very committed to you at the moment, it may be just impulsive. So after maybe 2 to 3 months, they will drift away. That's scary. Anyway, when I was conceptualizing about this episode, I was actually thinking of doing a political episode. You know, something has just happened in Singapore. However, I think that this is not going to be the correct angle to look at things. So somehow, it just changed to become an ISFP ENTJ episode. So while some ISFPs just say what they want, the ENTJ can't continue to say what they want, but they may twist and turn things to say it in a different way. But of course, in this case, the message becomes very indirect, so only the intelligent people can get it. You are the one. Yay! Okay, at Channel NITT we produce a lot of videos like this. If you have enjoyed, do give us a like. If you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can bring you more ENTJ, MBTI and fun stuff. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in our next episode. Bye bye!